And here we go. His Excellency the President now launching the report. We press the buzzer. Thank you. The launch on our screens. Ongeza sauti kidogo tuweze kusikia. The second copy to the Chief Executive Officer Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Macharia. The other one to the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, Professor Omondo. And the final one to the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya National Examination Council, Madam Karugo. Thank you, Your Excellency, and to the Chair of Education Committee in the Council of Governors. Thank you, Your Excellency.
And as an acknowledgement of accepting this report and the recommendations contained therein, as well as other curriculum reforms, I have, on this 9th day of February 2021, set my hand and presidential seal and established a new State Department for the implementation of curriculum reforms vested in the Ministry of Education. Further to these reforms, I wish to direct the Ministry of Education to 1, establish a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation mechanism that will facilitate tracking of the implementation process so that prompt interventions can be incorporated where necessary. 2, to re-engineer the standards and quality assurance function to ensure that the competency-based curriculum is implemented with fidelity to its aspirations. And 3, to work with the Teacher Service Commission to ensure that all teachers continue getting comprehensive training on the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. And 4, to collaborate with all relevant institutions to enhance assessment and education programs for all learners with special needs and disabilities, including the gifted and talented children. 5th, to work with the Teacher Service Commission to establish mechanisms of sharing physical and human resources between senior secondary and technical and vocational education training or TVET institutions. And 6, to domicile all sports academies to ensure that their curriculum and assessments are standardized, for this will offer learners in these sports academies opportunities to engage in other curricula outside sports, depending on their potential and career interests. 7, to rationalize all programs and courses offered in our universities to ensure that they are adequately prepared for the admission of the first competency-based curriculum cohort in the year 2029. And 8, to work with all stakeholders in the sector and government ministries to ensure that the competency-based curriculum reforms are smooth and systematically rolled out at all levels of education. Ladies and gentlemen, our founding fathers taught us that to be architects of our destiny, we must plan for it. given that the challenges of our times calls us to respond using our education system, we can only succeed through designing and implementing a fit-for-purpose education system. We are indeed currently making the third such transition since the independence of our nation. Our founding fathers embarked on a mission of course correction to transition from a colonial education system that prepared learners for servitude to one that gave them the tools to lead a newly independent nation. Indeed, Sessional Paper number 10 of 1965 laid the ideological foundation for this transition. We reorientated our education system and anchored it on 3 goals. And these were mutual social responsibility, Africanization, and economic productivity. In 1985, we made yet another monumental shift. We transitioned from the 7-4-2-3 system into the 8-4-4 system. But with time, the 8-4-4 curriculum became inconsistent with the aspirations of our growing nation, particularly because of its overload curriculum and its academic and examination-focused approach. Similarly, it proved rigid and unforgiving to the learner who did not fit into its mold. A mold that placed inordinate emphasis on content as opposed to competency, raw knowledge as opposed to hands-on skills. And as we began re-engineering it, we had to return to the fundamental principles of Sessional Paper number 10 of 1965. The spirit of this anchor instrument was simple. Citizens do not fail. It is systems that fail them. And if the systems are inconsistent with the aspirations of the people, they must be changed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a tipping point in our education system. The old must give way to the new. The summons of our times requires us to reimagine how we educate our children. It requires us to be bold, not rigid. It calls on us to imagine a system that creates responsible citizens as opposed to subjects. A system that celebrates the creative potential of all our children, as opposed to one that leaves them with labels of failure if they do not pass exams. We want a system that brings about freedom as opposed to conformity. And this is the promise of the competency-based curriculum. But the report we are launching today summarizes our response to the challenges we face even better. Indeed, as Franklin Roosevelt said, and I quote, so ably indicated, we can't always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future, end of quote. If the challenge of our time is that of rapid technological growth, then the response of our education system must be that of digital literacy. If the challenge of our time is the need to resiliently confront unprecedented crises such as COVID-19, then the response of our education system must be that of teaching our children the skills of critical thinking and problem solving.